One of the most crucial pillars to planning and executing an adventure is your snacks. Anyone that's done an adventure knows that you are ravishing food, and it's important that you're filling your body with quality snacks and not just junk food. And I've made that mistake way too many times. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about our newest sponsor, Wonderful Pistachios. Pistachios are a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids and one of the highest protein snack nuts. And also, unlike meat, protein-powered pistachios are naturally cholesterol-free and add fiber to your day. And not only that, they're really filling, so it's none of those empty calories that you get with a lot of other snack food. And it's super versatile as well. I just had some on a salad literally 10 minutes ago, and I had some as a snack this afternoon. And you can get them different ways. You can get them lightly salted, roasted, sweet chili, salt and pepper, and you can get them traditionally in shell or no shell. So if you're interested, visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Squeeze every moment out of summer with a mango dragon fruit Starbucks Refreshers beverage. It's a combo of sweet mango and bold dragon fruit flavors for a vibrant, refreshing way to cool down on hot days. Your happy is here at Starbucks. Order ahead on the app.
Hey folks, hope you're having a good week. My name is Mason, I'm the host here. In this episode, we're actually throwing back a couple years. But before we jump in, I did want to let you know we are giving away a major giveaway with Gnarly Nutrition. As you know, they've been supporting the podcast for a couple months now, but they are giving away 2 sets, basically 2 packages worth over $100 each to 2 lucky listeners of the show. All you have to do is go to the show notes, put in your email. It showcases it's their greens, it's their hydrate, and their protein. And great stuff. A lot of the athletes that have been on the show lately have used their product and used their product before, during, and after adventures to stay hydrated and stay fueled. So check it out. 2 lucky winners are going to win. And Gnarly, thank you so much for doing the giveaway. All right, so for this episode, we talked to Marty Johnson. This was a really cool episode because it was right before the pandemic. Marty was getting ready for his 6th Tour Divide, which is the 2,750-mile mountain bike race from Banff, Alberta, all the way down to Mexico. It's every summer. And Marty was getting ready for his 6th one, but he was 65 years old. He had done his first one to celebrate his 60th birthday and had done it every year since, and he has done some since. So over half a dozen now. And what's so cool about this is the resolution Marty decided to make when he turned 60 years old. A lot of us think that maybe our adventure life is winding down at that point. Well, for Marty, it was just getting started. It's unbelievable that he said at that age, I'm going to do something this audacious and this crazy. And I absolutely love it. And it just goes to show that keep your body ready, keep yourself ready, because the time of life when you can do this is really long if you take care of yourself. And if you're in a position in life like I am right now, where really long adventures just probably aren't possible for a while, I've got young kids. I don't necessarily want to be gone that long, so the desire isn't totally there, but I know that I want to do more big trips in the future. The thing is, there's going to be a lot of chances between now and the time I'm, leaving this earth, either from layoffs or recessions or whatever. We know that there's going to be chances to be ready for this. So get your finances ready, get your body ready. It might be soon. It might be when you're 60. It might be after that. But Marty's story and many other stories we have on this show go to show that you never know when the opportunity is going to present itself. So, like I said, be ready, and don't think that if you didn't do this in your 20s or in your teenage years even, that the opportunity is past, because it absolutely hasn't. All right, let's go ahead and hear from Marty. Hey folks, welcome to the show. Today we've got a great guest. We're talking about the Tour Divide, one of my favorite topics. We don't get to talk about it, or we haven't talked about it in a while, but on today to bring up an old topic, but in a fresh light, is Marty Johnson. Marty, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be a part of it. I've listened to a few of the episodes and always enjoy talking about the divide.
Oh man. So we were just talking, but when you're not out there doing the divide, you are running a gardening center. And where is that based out of? Where's home for you?
Wichita, Kansas. We've got 2 retail stores, and then one of our locations is a distribution center where we sell basically landscaping supplies to landscape companies, lawn service companies. My son's president of the company now, which is good for me to go off and do some things I want to do.
Do people, do you talk about it a lot at work, and are people just blown away?
Yeah, they're interested in it. It's, I guess, different in a lot of ways, and we'll talk about it later. The divide's similar to many things in our lives that we all deal with, but we've got our busy season in the spring, and then we hit it hard, and other times of the year it's slower, like in the winter time and in the summer. So it does enable me to get away, but it takes all of our attention some of the time of the year, and other time of the years it's not as much.
So when you're attempting the divide, it seems like you go right into busy season with work, and then you jump right on the divide. That's got to be wild.
Yeah, it is, and it's our busy time, like I say, is the spring. And of course, the divide starts that second Friday in June every year. I'd love to be spending the whole spring out training and being ready to go, but it's hard to get away because of work to go and train. Again, I've turned over a lot of those responsibilities to family and employees, so I am able to go do some events. But yeah, it's hard to get out and get trained. And then, like I say, it's April and May is, like my dad always said, it's the Super Bowl for us, and then a complete different focus with the Tour Divide.
No kidding. Lots of plants out there, though. Still, lots of flowers coming out. So
and that's that's the thing I like about it. We all look at the geography is so varied. I mean, you've seen it, but it's just so the mountains and everything. But the plants is something that we're all stopping taking pictures, and I'm out there in the middle of the Great Basin, down on my hands and knees, taking a picture of this little flower. And yeah, the plants really are part of the attraction for me. And not only the flowers, but the conifers, the evergreens. It's just, so varied the whole way, but it's just part of the attraction for me.
Absolutely. There's so much on an experience like that. And I'm going to mention, what the Tour Divide is for all the new listeners, or if you need a refresher for everyone that's new to the show. But, that it's such a wild idea, man. And you're planning to do it again this year in 2020 for your 6th time at the age of 65. What year was the first year you did it, and how did that idea come about?
2015 was the first year that I attempted it. I've just gone back every year and started again, and I finished it that first year. And when you finish it, just like a lot of adventures, you get to the end, it's bittersweet, because it's you spent weeks or a month of your life doing this hike or bike or whatever it is, and you're ready for it to be over. But then on the other hand, it's like it's going to be over.
Yeah.
So
adventure's over.
Yeah, and some people say, "Well, are you going to do it again?" And that first year, I said, if a good friend wants to go do it with me, they're going to have to twist my arm pretty hard for me to go back and do this again. But if my son or daughter wanted to do it, I'd sign up in a heartbeat. A lot of these events, it just pulls at you. You get somewhat recovered from it, and then you get 4 or 6 months out from it. Then all you do is you think about it every day.
Absolutely.
You get to where you can't wait to get back.
So your first year was 2015, meaning this will be your 6th time, but you were 60 when you started it, when you first attempted it and finished it, correct?
Right. Yeah, I was 60 years old, and I was active. Working outside all the time. I've stayed in pretty good shape, but I wasn't in sports a lot growing up. We were, myself, my two brothers, we lived next to the garden center. We were working at the garden center, and
Wow.
so I didn't play football, baseball. I didn't hunt and fish, but I like just being outside. And so like a lot of us, the Great Divide mountain bike race, I think, was early on. And
Yeah.
I think maybe on MTV Cast, Joe was, had the call-ins. And I think that's maybe where I first heard about it. And then there was an article in Outside Magazine. And of course, then the documentary came out, and you just like, maybe I can do that sometime. And a friend of mine who does ultras, runs and triathlons, and we kind of talked about it. It's like, well, maybe let's do a state of year. And so finally I decided, well, I'm gonna do it. It was in 14. It's like, I'm gonna do it next year. And I just approached it. It's like, I'll go as far as I can. I did some longer rides, did race across Texas in 14. That was 850 miles in 8 days, I think, and all self-contained. And it's like, well, okay, maybe I can do it. I didn't, no pressure on myself. It's just like, if I don't make it, I don't make it. It's like, I know it wasn't going to be very fast, but, people say, well, how long is it going to take you? It's like, I don't know. I figured, 100 miles a day, 2,800 miles, maybe a month. And so then that's, it's about where I've been. So no, I made it that first year and finished on day 28 or 29, and then went back in 16, and I had a meeting to go to in Denver and put a little more pressure on myself. It's like, if I could do it in 26 or 7 days, I can make my meeting. And I got down, you get to New Mexico and had some mud and had some slower days. And so I bailed at Cuba and made my meeting. And after that, I felt, I regretted, pulling out that year. It's like, we can spend our lives going to meetings, but
Yeah.
It's just, I missed an opportunity to finish again. So then I went back in 17, and there was a Bobby Smith from Winfield, Kansas, a friend of mine. He decided to do it, and he and I rode together quite a bit on it, and finished in 17. And then in 18, I thought, well, on the Divide, it's like, you leave Banff and it's wet and cold. Every year I'd leave, it was always raining at the start. And so it's like, I'm going to start down in New Mexico. I'm from Kansas, I'm thinking, I ride in the heat. And so I caught the train, went to Albuquerque, and a friend took me to Antelope Wells and took off. And I lasted 4 days in 18. It got hot, and by that time my head wasn't in it. And like I said, my friend Bill lives in Albuquerque, and I had an out, and I took it. And then, of course, that one I regretted too. So then went back last year in 19 and finished it again. Then just like from now, just probably do it every year as long as I can. I'm fortunate to be able to, and so I'll just enjoy it and just keep going back and doing it.
You just say, yeah, you act like it's no big deal, man. I mean, this is like the hardest thing I've ever done. And I was pretty young when I did it, but I mean, it was just such an adventure and it was such a mental game the whole time. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't, you know what I mean? Being young and not probably as disciplined in life at that point. And, gosh, it was just such a whirlwind every day. It felt like just a total adventure of not knowing what was going to happen. But I like to come back and do it over and over and over again, man. I am not there in life. Let's put it that way.
Well, there's a couple things. My gut feeling is there's a higher percentage of riders that finish that are 40 and over than 40 and under.
I definitely agree.
I think it's just what you say. When you're 40 and over, you're, for the most part, your families are raised. You've gone through more life challenges. You're glad to be out there. Yeah, we're racing it. Our goal is to just finish it within the rules. And they say it's the hardest mountain bike race in the world. Or I'm not gonna say it's not hard, because it is, but it's just long. You're just riding every day, not recovered.
Yeah.
You can do a half marathon or whatever, and then you can go and recover and do another one a few days later. But on the Divide, it's like you're just, even from the start, you're competing not recovered and not well fed and probably not well hydrated and sleeping cold and all that.
Not doing too good all around, it sounds like.
And this year I was talking to in Brush Mountain Lodge to to Josh and Sophie, and they had both pulled out and ended up back at Brush Mountain Lodge, and they were spending some time, and it was so fun spending time with those guys. It was like old home week almost, and those guys, I'd met them and we had talked, but you feel like you're almost this tribe, but because we were a family now. But we were talking up there in Brush Mountain. It's like, we really ought to just tour this thing, not race it, and just get someplace, make dinner, have a campfire, because it was so much fun there at Brush Mountain, sitting around the campfire, eating pizza and drinking a beer. It's like, get up in the morning, make coffee, and if you want to go off course, you go off course. On the other hand, I'm still trying to do it in 25 days, so you keep chasing that carrot out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard a lot of people say, if you could do it again, what would you do? And a lot of them would say, I'd take a lot more stuff, I would go a lot slower, and I'd bring a fishing pole, because there's so much you could stop and explore every day, because it really is, you're really out there in the wilderness, a lot of it, and it's just pristine. A lot of it's just very pristine. But I wanted to ask, being born and raised in Kansas and being third generation, running, it's the same gardening center for your third generation, correct?
Yes, I'm third generation, right? Yeah.
Was your parents, were they adventurous like this? Because I know a lot of people that, I'm from a small town in Florida, and there's a lot of second, third, fourth generations companies, and I just feel like it very rare do you find somebody that just decides to do something so out of the box like this. Do you come from a family like this, or are you kind of like a black sheep in your community of like, oh yeah, Marty goes out every summer and does that crazy ride thing, but he comes back?
Yeah, there's certainly that. I tell people, well, I wasn't one of the A students. I haven't learned, but my grandfather, he came up to Kansas in a covered wagon from Oklahoma. And my dad, he was older. He was born in 16. So he was older when we were growing up, and was in World War II. And he said, I spent 2 or 3 years in a pup tent in Germany. And so camping wasn't his idea of fun.
Right.
We were in Scouts, and I really liked, the scouting and the camp outs, going to Philmont and all that. So I really liked that. And my family wasn't campers growing up, but my son was in Scouts. It was an activity that we did. So no, it wasn't something that, I wasn't out all the time growing up with my family doing adventures.
What do you think it is about the Tour Divide that draws you back every year?
Like we talked about the scenery, the places that you see, and it's so varied. And people ask, what's your favorite part? It's like, I don't know. It's Canadian Rockies are just, those majestic, jagged mountaintops, down to the deserts of the Southwest. They're also diverse, and I guess just experiencing that again. And then the people that you meet. I mentioned you can hang out in Banff and rub shoulders with people that have won this thing. They're, in our eyes, they're the elite athletes of this world. Not the people we're watching on TV. So being able to rub shoulders with them, and it may just be for an hour or two, but just making those connections, and then the people along the way that approach you, and a lot of them, they know what you're doing. In 15, I was in Breckenridge and walking down, getting ready to eat lunch in this cafe, and like I say, you look like you're from Mars. You've got this kit on and your bike, and walking down this tourist town, and this guy walks up, and I'm like I said, I'm not fast, but this guy walks up and goes, "Hey, are you Marty?" And I kind of look over at him. It's like, "Yeah, well, I've been following the Divide. I knew you were in town, and just wanted to come out here and see." And just people that that you'll be riding along, and there'll be people that'll ride by and just give you a thumbs up, so they know what you're doing. So it's just kind of the whole deal. It's just it's tough. You'll be riding along, and it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing out here? I've done this thing how many times, and you hurt and you're sore, and it's like, I could be home in my swimming pool and hanging out, but then you turn around a corner and there's just, in the basin or wherever, and this you think, oh, this is the most beautiful place I've ever been to. I can't wait to get back here next year.
Hmm. Is there an experience you've had out there that you could point to that kind of illustrates that? Maybe a very memorable experience that maybe you think about a lot. Can I make it any more vague than that?
No, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to thought what you're going to ask. I'm trying to. There's a lot of stories, a lot of
Yeah.
fun stories. Well, this year there's a little cabin. It's between Lincoln and Helena, and it's just out in the middle of this field, and it's like a little hostel in this.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and 17 we stayed there that night, but never talked to anybody. But this year I just try to keep going more this year. When in the past you get someplace, and if you're riding with somebody, it would be like, hey, let's get a room tonight. And that first year, I think I spent about half the nights in a motel room. But this year is like, I'm just, I'm gonna just. And since then, it's like I'm gonna keep going. And I think this guy's name is John. And so I went up. I stopped there, and he comes out. Hey, wants to find out my story. And so, yeah, my wife, she made some chicken salad sandwiches here, and we've got refrigerator here. We got pop, beer, whatever you want. And it's like, oh, you're hungry. And so we stop there and eat. And it's like, well, what do I owe you? He goes, oh, you don't owe us anything. We want just pay it forward sometime. I guess experiences like that there's good people out there. And from this year, of course, Kirsten there at Brush Mountain Lodge, it's defined, and you leave Wyoming and then instantly you're in Colorado, the mountains and everything, and that 12 miles up that road to her place is it's a push, especially in the afternoon. And I've gotten there at 5 in the afternoon. I've gotten there at 10 o'clock at night, and then she's there, runs out, hey Marty, gives you a hug, and what do you want? You want some pizza or whatever. So it's just
That's unreal, man. I know everyone you're talking about just because it's probably like anyone that does a through hike or something. There's these people that are kind of fixtures along the route, and they obviously get a lot of joy out of it too, seeing these folks come through every year. And I know one thing, when I get to the point I don't want to do this stuff anymore, I would love to be one of those people that can host and can support and can honestly, they're doing so much for you. They're like restoring your faith in humanity, just knowing that this person out here in the woods, I'm going to be able to rely on, in a couple of months. I just know they're going to be there. That's pretty cool. That's very cool.
Well, another story too is that in 15, going into Hartsville, Colorado,
mm-hmm.
you leave Breckenridge, go over Boreas Pass, hit Como, and go around. And I was trying to beat a thunderstorm, and it's open out there. It was thundering, and you see some lightning, and you'd look ahead and try to find a place. Okay, if this starts coming down here, where am I going to hide out? And finally you hit the highway, and it's like, okay, I can make it into Hartsville now. So I pull into Hartsville, and it's like 8:30 at night. Well, the kitchen closes at 8. And but there was this guy in there playing pool, and I think his name was Chuck, and Chuck had been at this bar a good part of the day, and
that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, and been playing pool and partaking there. And I said, man, do you guys have any food? He said, no, the kitchen closed. And well, here I've got a cheeseburger and fries. Just take it. You can have it. It's like, no, I don't want to take it. No, go ahead and here, you can have it. I don't need it. So
wow.
Yeah, I'll take it. So I eat it up. And then the next year I was through there, and I mentioned that to him. I said, what was the deal, with that guy? And he goes, well, that's just how people are around here. And I've always wished he would be there when I go back through there again. But never is. But it's just, it's in the middle of nowhere, and just this little bar there and on the highway.
Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. Hey folks, your host Mason here. If you know me, you know that I don't really like to shower. I don't like to get dressed up a whole lot. I'm usually wearing flip-flops, and I'm kind of a dirtbag in all honesty. But when the time is right, I like to get dressed up. I like to go out and look nice. And when I do, I like to get my accessories and some of my stuff from Trend Him. Recently, I got a new watch from them. Great watch. It looks really nice. I feel good wearing it. I got some belts from them, some sunglasses, and just a couple things to complete my look when I want to look a little nice. Go out with my wife, do a little dancing. You know what I'm saying? So if you are looking for a go-to destination for men's accessories at affordable prices, go to Trend Him. They have a huge selection of products, 6,500 different products in 22 different categories, everything from ties to bracelets to necklaces to watches, which was big for me because I lose track of time pretty easily, but not anymore. Not with my Trend Him watch. If you're looking to maybe get some stuff from Trend Him, go to trnd.hm/ASP for Adventure Sports Podcast. Again, that's trnd.hm/ASP. And you can also find that in the show notes. When it comes to watching the big game, every second counts, especially if you are missing even a moment of the action to go for a drink run. Luckily, there's Drizzly. It's the #1 app for alcohol delivery. Y'all know I work for a brewery. It's non-alcoholic beer, so we can ship it right to your house. But you can't do that with other brands. But now you can with Drizzly. You can shop local stores, compare the prices over a huge selection of beer, wine, spirits, and get it all delivered to your house in under 60 minutes. Or you can schedule it up to 2 weeks in advance. So if you're throwing a big party, have it all ready to go. Talk about a slam dunk. They also make it very easy to send those as a gift. You can literally gift people that alcohol right to your friends, family, for whatever occasion, even if that occasion is rubbing in their face that their team lost. In your face, other team. So if you're looking to spend more time watching the game, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode.
It's an amazing experience. Is there, having done it or having been out there 5 times and completed it 3 times, is there any place now that's kind of special to you that you look forward to, maybe a region or a mountain range or a part of the trail that you really enjoy?
Yeah, there's one, and it's been, I look forward to this place, and that it's after you, let me see, it's going into Seeley Lake, and you, that pass there, and then you do that. There's like a 180 you do, but you get there and you're looking at the Mission Mountain Range to the west. And I've always gotten there, late in the afternoon. It's just, I don't know, it's just almost a spiritual event, just sitting there and looking out there. And it's just, the range is probably, 30 miles away, but just seeing that whole mountain range from that distance in the evening and in the clouds is just special. It was kind of weird this year too. In the basin, you're crossing the basin, and there's that one spot that where's in the middle of nowhere, there's this old hood of a car, and it's like, how did? And I'm guessing they're up there sledding with it or something, but there's this hood of this car at the top of it. It's probably, it wasn't like a 1950 Chevrolet, just a rounded hood.
Yeah.
It's all dented in, it's orange, and you think, you wonder what the story is with that thing. And this year I'm up there, and you know about where it's at, but and it's like, I couldn't find it. It's like, man, did someone take this thing? And I was almost starting to get disappointed, and sure enough, there it was. It just hadn't gone far enough. But it's just crazy stuff like that you kind of look for, and you've seen every year, and look forward to seeing, because they're kind of milestones and along the way that you look for. And Marshall Pass is another place that it's one of my favorite spots. And I don't know what it is about it, but it's just, leave Salida and was it Poncha Springs, and you go up that. Well, it seems like it's 20 miles. It's probably 6 or 7 miles up that grade. It's paved, but it's just like, man, I can't wait to get off this road. It just takes forever. And then you hit the gravel, and it's up. It's a rail trail, but it's a lot of that's kind of aspen line. And I just picture myself back 100 years ago on this old narrow gauge railway going up. This path is just, I know, it's just another area that I look forward to every year.
I know what you're talking about. Now,
Yeah.
is there any place that you find particularly challenging or don't really love?
I was trying to think where the hardest part is, and there's always a payoff for this long climb, and there is, and probably southern New Mexico and the Gila is probably as tough as any place. It's what 100 and some miles. There's really no water that you can collect or filter. There's no streams out there really to speak of, and there's no food, and it's hot, and it's probably New Mexico. That southern part's probably the toughest part, and that first year I did it, we hit, there's an alternate route that the True Divide people take, and it's on that Continental Divide trail. They run us over there. And well, that first year it was, I'm tired, and it was raining, and it's hard. It's kind of hard to find the trail in that campsite there. And I'm starting to go up it, and it's like, my shoes are wet, and I'm going up granite, and it's like, I think I'm going to go back and take the road. So I go back, and a friend of mine, Philip Bird, is back there. So we start going around, and go a ways. It's probably a couple hours up to the top, and this driver comes up and he says, "You're not on the route." It's like, I know. He goes, "Well, your buddy turned around," and so I stop, and it's like, I spent a month of my life out here doing this right. I need to go back and do the right thing. So I need to go back and do that trail, and I'm so glad I did, because so finally I go back, and I wasted probably 4 or 5 hours with that decision, but I get back up there on that trail, and once you get to the top, it's like, again, at that point it had rained, it was really clear, and there's yucca up there blooming, and it's like, man, I would have missed this spot had I done the wrong thing. I'm so glad that I came back and did the right thing, and that's another tough spot. I mean, you know how it is. It's hike a bike, and your bike weighs 60 pounds, and it's just a lot of walking up there, narrow, and I'm not a good mountain biker anyway, so I'm not real comfortable doing that. But then you get to, you almost look forward to it now.
So what compelled you at the age of 60 to get out there and do this? Do you have a history of doing adventures like this, or was this kind of out of the norm for you?
I don't think I hadn't been doing a lot of these. Like I said, I had, the previous conversation with Mike, my friend, the ultra athlete, and we had just talked about it. And it's like, I'd ridden gravel roads. I'd done a few races around here, road races, and I never was very fast. And, I'd be on the podium when there were 3 people in the class. But, we've done a lot of gravel out here, Dirty Kansas, and in the States, and it's like, it's a little bit, I guess I tried to do things maybe a little different, maybe things that other people don't try. I was at a point in my life where I could get away and do it, and had talked to some people that, there's people doing it that are in the 60s. So it's like, well, I'll give it a shot, and
ended up finishing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty. I mean, it's just impressive. I mean, were you confident going into it? You said you didn't put yourself, in a bunch of pressure on yourself, basically. But how were you feeling going in?
Yeah, I felt after the Texas ride, the year before that race across Texas,
Yep.
It was 100 miles a day. So I figured optimistic that I could do it physically, but I guess because I didn't put pressure on myself mentally, I was able to not let that get to me. But it's definitely a big part of it, that mental part of it.
How many times do you foresee yourself doing it? Do you just enjoy doing it over and over again?
I do. It's a friend of mine Bill that picks me up, and after 18, he said, I guess you've got unfinished business, and it's, if you think you can do it, you better do it, because there will be a time when you can't.
Do you feel compelled at all to do other things, or do you just enjoy this route, this culture, this group of people?
Yeah, I think it's the culture that I really enjoy, and the people too. But I'm probably missing out on some things, some other ones. But I've done Billy Rice's Grand Gravel. That'll be in, and I plan on doing it again. So that's 500 miles in March. So I do some intermediate events to get some other experiences, and But I guess there's a certain comfort level having already done it that
Yeah,
makes it easy to go back and do. And, you've got the equipment for the most part. And there's a certain amount of fun on any of these adventures is, of course, they always say, this the journey, not the destination. And even, part of the journey is the preparation for it too. That's,
absolutely.
looking at the maps and all the, the gear and just making sure everything's ready to go. And, after that, I guess you say, how long will you be doing it? After that Texas ride, my fingertips got numb, and just being on my bike, I guess, for hours a day, and that's never gone away. And fingers will get numb, my hand will get numb, and then I'll go it'll get better during the year. Then I'll go ride again for a month, and it'll get worse. And well, I thought I better have this checked. So finally, I went this summer after I got back, and they said, yeah, you got carpal tunnel syndrome. So I had the surgery in September on both wrists and the ulnar nerve in my left elbow, and they're a lot better. The tingling will probably never go away, but this spring on these longer rides, if it gets a lot worse again, I'll make a decision in whether to do it or not. But that would be the only thing that would probably
keep you from doing it.
Keep me from doing it. I don't want to go. I mean, the surgery wasn't painful, but it's just it's just not a lot of fun. So it's like I say, it's it's hard on your bodies out there doing that. But as long as I can do it and not do too much damage, I'll continue to go.
Definitely inspiring. So what does your family think about you doing this all the time? Do they think you're crazy? Do they understand?
Well, they understand it. And my son, he'll ask from time to time, and then when I'm out there doing it, it's still fun, Dad. I think what he's saying is that, if it's not fun, don't keep doing it. So no, I think as long as it's fun, no, they get it. They know that it's a passion and something I enjoy doing. And you know how it is watching the dots on track leaders. People love doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure knowing someone, it's even better.
Do they ever come out and see you on the ride? To see these places, I mean, it's hard to know what it's like unless you see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember my dad told me, he's like, I just didn't understand why you like to ride your bike all across the country till I flew out to see you and you rode up to me. And he's like, and then I watched you ride away, and it's like, I get it now. Yeah.
My daughter's been to Banff twice.
Oh, that's not too shabby. That's a beautiful area.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah.
It's honestly probably among the most beautiful scenery on the whole trip is right where it begins,
Oh, yeah. No, I had a cousin that it was funny. She lives in Denver and was following and came out to Silverthorne. I got there like at 10 o'clock at night, and I mentioned that my friend Philip Bird, we kind of rode together, hopscotch back and forth, and he gets to Silverthorne before I do, and my cousin Carol's following the Divide race and has a sign made, welcome Marty or something like that. And so she sees the light coming up and she thinks it's me, and of course it's Philip, and she's like, what's going on? Where is everybody? And he's like, oh, there is no everybody. This is
how it is.
This is it. Yeah. It's like, people like Antelope Wells. Well, what's down there? It's like, well, let me show you on Google Earth. There's nothing down there.
I mean, over the course of 2,700 miles, 150 people can get quite a bit of distance between them.
Oh,
where you don't just feel alone. You are very alone.
This year, I was in a bubble. I was probably, for a good part of it, I was probably 50 miles behind and ahead of other people. So you've got to be able to ride by yourself and be by yourself for hours on end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You do kind of group together just like any other event, but man, you can go days without seeing people depending on your schedules and just how everyone else is riding around you. And it's very fascinating, and people know it. The communities know you're coming through, but it is not. it is not like other races where there's a big group of people, a peloton of folks traveling together. But sometimes you do get that, especially if you're doing it with someone else. And technically, I know no one's supposed to come see you on the trail or help you, but man, it's hard. It's hard on those, when family offers to come see you and you're down, you're feeling pretty low, and it's going to lift your spirits.
And that's why it's cool when someone comes up on the road and gives you a thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That they're your fan.
Some thumbs up, some little honk can just change your whole day.
Yeah.
And that is, you don't think the smallest little pleasure, the smallest little piece of beauty, or just lifts you right out of your dark little hole and gets you back on it. I'm just excited. I want to go do it. I want to go do it this year.
Come on.
I know I won't be able to this year, but definitely has been on my mind for sure.
One thing, we talked about the preparation, and like on all these events, people are, whether it's a marathon or a through hike or whatever, people that have done it encourage other people to do it. It's like, if you think you want to do it, and I'm the same way, same story. If you ever think you want to do it, for sure, but be prepared, and and that's certainly a big part of it. I remember, I think it was in 2017. You get all your stuff together, and you get your baby wipes and everything, for your hygiene. And I was riding along, and it's like, I don't feel real comfortable down there. And I was it was a couple weeks into it or whatever. And I looked, and instead of buying baby wipes, I'd bought Clorox wipes. So, I guess the point is there's so many details you got to cover on this thing, or you could be in trouble.
You could be in serious trouble with a little mistake like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That is too funny. Oh man. So, let me ask you this. Do you have a hard time adjusting back to normal life for the rest of the year? Do you kind of enjoy those two different worlds?
That's interesting, because I enjoy the two worlds, but yeah, it can be, I don't say difficult, but there's something too about getting back into the swing of things. I haven't put my finger on it. You come back, and of course you kind of eat everything in sight.
You're grateful for running water and a toilet and a cup of coffee whenever you want.
Yeah, but no, it takes some time to get, and I mean, even more than just a couple months. It might take several months, and it probably affects people different ways. But no, it takes some time to kind of get back into the swing of things and into some normalcy, I guess.
What's the biggest misconception that you hear about doing these long trips, maybe from people back home or just online?
It's a misconception, but it's hard to follow a lot of the social media when you're out there, and a lot of the drama, and there certainly was a lot this year, but there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking going on.
In what regard? People saying like,
just
what drama? Like, I didn't follow too closely.
There was some drama with a film crew out there being on their route. There's just a lot of second guessing, but people it's easy for people to follow, why is, and I think it's more with the leaders, but why is so-and-so stopped at this point? Why did they're second guessing the riders' decisions that they make on the route. And unless they've been out there doing it, it's hard for people to be too objective. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just, unless you've been out there, you've been on your bike for 14, 15 hours a day for how many days? And why are they stopping here? Why aren't they getting up? I've had people that will say, how come you don't start earlier in the morning? It's like, well, man, I don't set my alarm to get up, and
you wake up feeling like you got hit across the back with a truck. It's hard to just, and it's freezing and you're wet, and it's hard to get up and just get moving.
Yeah. And I've taken a bivvy that first year. a tent the other years. I think just a little more shelter. But yeah, it's just you're in that warm environment, and it's just like, yeah, I guess that's the thing. People say, how come you're, and I don't sleep until 8, 9 o'clock, but when the sun comes up, I'm getting up and getting around. But I know the fast people, they're getting up at 4 in the morning and going, and it's just, they're younger and have a different goal than what I do. So.
Interesting. Yeah. And I haven't even talked about this yet, but one reason you might not be moving is because, heck, I remember one time we were stopped for like 15 minutes because there was about 300 cows in the way, and they all looked like they weren't happy with us. And there's no fences, and you're just in this open plain with hundreds of cows that can chase you down. Yeah. And I'm just like, what do we do here? Because they're just, the whole cluster's right over the trail, and we can't really go around them or go through them. So you just kind of have to wait. You know what I mean? Have you had experiences with animals? Because I felt like when we did it, my buddy and I did it together, I just felt like every other day we were narrowly escaping some sort of animal encounter. And so doing it 5 times now, I'm sure you've had your fair share of encounters.
Probably the main one I remember is in New Mexico. There's Black Angus from border to border, and free range. But it wasn't that many, but there was, I don't know, a couple dozen. And as you rolled up, most of the time they move out of the way. But this one, the bull, he was standing his ground. He was standing in the middle of the road, and it's like, okay, dude, I'll walk around. I'll go around you. And like I say, there's no fence between he and I. And it's just like, I'm not I take bear spray. I'm not really afraid of the bears or any other animals, but yeah, those get trampled by cattle wouldn't be fun. I think it's probably more dangerous than the wildlife that's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think cattle kill more people than any animal in the world. And people just underestimate how dangerous. Yeah, I mean, it's bigger than a bear as far as size and weight, and there's a lot more of them.
Yeah,
we had a guy probably around that area, is somewhere in Montana, and we had caught up to him. He had fallen off his bike and broken a couple ribs, but he could still ride. But he was an older gentleman, and he said that this bull started chasing him, and he was trying to make his way through this crowd of cows, and he picked up a rock and said he threw it at the bull as hard as he could, but when he did, it kind of engaged his core and just pain shot through his abs. And so he said, I was about halfway through my throw, and then I just kind of let go of the rock and screamed in pain. And he goes, and the rock flew straight towards the bull and hit him as the bull was running towards him. He said it hit his toe. The rock just, right as the bull's hoof was on the ground, it just hit it. And he said that bull lifted that foot up like he had just stubbed his toe and just hobbled off the other direction, limping. And he says, I think probably would have killed me. And I just think,
yeah.
Holy cow, man. Are you narrowly, I mean, that was the David and Goliath situation. You narrowly escaped.
That's funny.
I just think like, this is a dangerous adventure, man. So it's really just the cows for you too. Nothing really extreme. No bear encounters. Nothing with bison or anything like that.
I was it was in Idaho, and you're off that rail trail, and there's which is, and
with the lava rock.
There's the lava rock, and I'd gotten to the Wise River campground like at midnight. I looked in one of those campsite bathrooms, latrines to sleep in. It's like, nah, I'm not gonna sleep in there. So I put my bivvy out. That was the year I took my bivvy. I put my bivvy out, and I get in the bed, and it's light there. There's an area light, so I'm laying down, have my bear spray out, and we had been told that that's kind of like Grizzly Alley because it's close to Yellowstone, and so I'm laying down there and asleep, and I feel something like walking across my legs. It's like, oh man! So I grab my bear spray and I sit up, and I'm thinking the worst, that there's this bear that's out there. I hadn't heard anything, but there's a skunk walking over my feet, over my legs. It's like, oh man. So I sit up, and he luckily didn't spray me, but I give him a shot of bear spray and he's running away.
Oh gosh, a little taste of his own medicine,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
That is too funny, man.
I've seen a couple of grizzlies, but nothing up close. And one time was by a paved road, and there were probably half a dozen cars just stopped there watching this grizzly just foraging around looking for food. So no, they don't really care about humans.
And now, is there any sort of gear that, or any sort of creature comfort that you take with you on these long adventures on the Tour Divide? Anything that you just got to have?
Probably no creature comforts, but with my gear, I use a dynamo hub, and it.
And for folks that don't know, that can charge things and power things.
Correct. Yeah, it's the front hub. As it turns, it makes electricity, and there's a little charging device. You can plug your it's got a USB port on it, so you can charge a spare battery, your phone, your GPS, your computer, or whatever.
Headlight or headlamp or whatever.
Yeah. And this year it was a Sun hub. It was a German hub. It was a good hub. Well, there's two little wires inside that hub that had broken. Sometimes they can twist in the fork, and it had done that, and it broken the wire. So I was without the ability for my front hub to produce electricity. Still turned fine.
Oh gosh.
So I had to buy a battery operated light, and long story short, I called the manufacturer and had them make another one for me on the route. It wasn't cheap, but it's just, I guess it was it was reassuring. I would never run out of power.
Yeah.
I'd always have light. That was kind of how that was my plan. It had it shipped in a steamboat, and then sent my bad one back and had it rebuilt. But probably that I try to take, I'm taking a one person tent now, but no, I don't take a lot of extra gear, just one pair of shorts and one jersey and a long sleeve t-shirt and a poofy coat and rain gear and bladder enough for water. I still take a filter. The first year I probably carried too much water, or more water than I needed, just because I didn't want to run out of water. And you know where the water stops are now, and up north there's, even when I would collect water, I'll still filter it, but there's water up first half of it. You can get water pretty frequently. Like I say, just down in New Mexico is where it's not as available.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that is one beauty of doing the route over and over, is you can kind of know where you can trim the fat in your kit, and also just save weight, which can go a little faster, go a little lighter, which can make the whole experience more enjoyable. So
right.
Absolutely. I definitely, if I ever did it again, there's a lot I know now that I did not then. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But so let me ask you this, if there's somebody out there who might be, maybe they got an opportunity, or at least a window of opportunity where something like this might be possible, but it may take a little rearranging, moving around. What do you say to the people who have an idea to do something like this, but maybe no experience but the desire to, like yourself?
Yeah, just like we were saying, I was, for sure, whatever that is, I would, encourage them to do it, and just, start out slow, small, with shorter overnight rides. Load your stuff on your bike, and you're going to take too much and with you, but you'll end up figuring out what's necessary, and do it, and then go do a week-long ride and do it self-supported. And there's rides out there around wherever someone would live that pick a route where you've got to manage your water and food, but yet if you get in trouble, you can always make a phone call and get home. There's routes, or now there's gravel rides about anywhere, but just start small, and don't let the failures or the non-successful rides discourage you. I know my first Dirty Kansas, which is a 200-mile ride in Kansas, and they've got stops every 50 miles. Well, my first year I did that, I stopped at mile 45. I was 5 miles from the rest stop and got a ride in.
Yeah.
So I just, don't think those things are failures. Just view them as stepping stones up to, whether it's doing the divide or whether it's a half marathon or whatever, just, work towards it. And the sense of accomplishments just,
It's going to make it worth it. That's for sure.
oh my gosh. Yeah. It's amazing.
That's a good point, because a lot of people, I feel like, try something new just one time, goes horribly, and they never try again. And the people that can at least try one more time, I don't know what the stats are. I don't know even how, if that can even, but I guarantee they have a 75% chance of it being a completely different story and enjoying it immensely. I mean, the first time I mountain bike, I hated it because I fell 50 times and I was like, what the heck do people do this for? This is miserable. But it was just a really technical route and I was totally unexperienced. My balance was horrible, and did it one more time and it was a totally different story. And I just can't tell you how many things in life are like that. You try it the very first time and you are awful at it. And then just try it again, maybe 2 or 3 times. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh man, okay. And I start seeing some progress. And the next thing you know, you're biking from Canada to Mexico 6 times.
And that's the thing about, you can take so many lessons from the divide or whatever it is that you use in your everyday life. Just like in our business, in the garden center business, we rely on, 12, 10 weekends in the spring for good weather. Well, there's a lot of years we don't get those good weekends, and it's nice during the week, but the weekend it rains and our sales are way down. But you just can't give up. Just like on the divide, it's wet and rainy or whatever. You just keep going and finding a way to persevere, and you can just use those analogies in all aspects of your life.
You know this as well as anybody that's ever been on this show. You cannot predict the good experience and the bad experiences where they fall on it, because so many times they are just butted up right against each other. It's like the worst day, the worst morning, and the most wonderful evening are the same day. Like, it happens so many times, and you just, at some point, the odds are going to turn in your favor if you just keep going.
That's why I say, there's always a payoff for this struggle, this hard time, this
absolutely,
this summit or going up to this summit or whatever it is. It's just, once you get up there, and sometimes you get up there where you think it is a summit, and you think, well, it's going to be easy going down. We get to the other side, it's going to be a rocky road. You leave Brush Mountain Lodge and go up over that ridge. It's like 6 miles of rough terrain going down. So it's just it'll come, but just sometimes it's at the least expectant time.
Absolutely. So how can people find out more about you, Marty? I know you like to write about your experiences.
Yeah, I've got a blog, and my daughter, I mentioned her the other day. I said, well, we need to get this one posted, but it's bucketride.bike.
Bucketride.bike.
Yeah, bucket ride, like a bucket list, but bucket ride, and it is dot bike. And I've got recaps of the different years on there, and or on Instagram. I post a lot of pictures on Instagram, and its name or handle is Got Chile, Chile. Perfect. On Instagram, I post a lot of pictures in the Flint Hills and rides. Yeah, I see the blog, the Bucket Ride, has a lot of the information about the rides.
Perfect. Well, Marty, man, I really appreciate you being on and just telling us a little bit about your experience of doing something really, really fun, really unique, really out of the box for a lot of people. And so, I hope it inspires somebody to get out there and do something exciting for their life.
Yeah, and like I say, me, first one was at age 60, and as long as you're, don't wait too long, but as long as your health, and it may not happen when you're young, but if you're older and still you're able to do something, get out there and do it.
Awesome. Marty, thanks so much, man. And I really appreciate you being on, and good luck this year. going out there. I will be following your blue dot.
All right, Mason. Well, thank you. And I love the podcast. I just started listening to it, and some very interesting individuals on there with a lot of great stories.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had some over the 600 episodes. There have been quite the vast majority are absolutely incredible. It has been a lot of fun over the last few years for sure.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Well, good. Well, Marty, have a great night, man, and yeah, stay warm and looking forward to June. Can't wait to follow you.
Yeah. All right, Mason. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. All right.
Bye.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to this show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to growing the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.
Radishes, baby wipes, vinyl records, you name it. At Walmart, you can save on almost anything. Now you can save more time by making cash deposits and withdrawals right at checkout. $3.74 service fee and limits apply. Green Dot NMLS number 914924 and 908739.
Thanks, everyone, for baking your way here on this toasty morning. Are you all ready to jam? Excellent. Before we get rolling, let's start by hashing out everything bagel will be discussing. Profit margins are okay, but they could maybe be butter. Sorry, I don't mean to waffle. Next quarter, it's all or muffin. Did you have a question, Sausage Patty?
My name's Patricia.
When you can't take your mind off breakfast, it matters where you stay. Delicious breakfast available at our Hilton family of brands. Hilton, for the stay.